All right, what's up, everybody? Long time no see. I think it's like 3 weeks. Um, this is just gonna be like a short TBR, short what I'm gonna read type video. I got like a little note card for notes, but I don't really know much about these books. I use my iPhone to record, I don't like check the angle before, so I don't know if you can see me or not. I tried my best. So first off, what I've been reading is A Diary of a Man in Despair by Friedrich Reck. Let me see. It's an NYRB book, which I always enjoy NYRB books because they kind of seem to do like obscure classics or just obscure books in general. I had never heard of this book. It was at my local used bookstore in like the World War II section. So this book is it's a journal. As you can see, you got like dates. And it's this guy, Friedrich Reck, kind of his account of the rise of Hitler and his rise to power. I think it starts in 1937 and goes all the way to the end of the war. Unfortunately, I might be wrong. I hope I'm not, because this is a heavy topic, but I think Friedrich Reck ended up in a concentration camp, and he's dead now, obviously, but I can't remember if it was because of the concentration camp or if he died of old age. But it's actually really interesting. There's a lot of it's crazy to me because I don't know if this is like me just thinking this, but this is a journal. Granted, it's translated, I believe. I think. But he has like a really literary type of writing, and as someone who's journaled a lot throughout their lives, like journals aren't really necessarily me trying to be literary. It's just like, oh, today I did this and this is what I thought. This happened. This is my opinion on that. My cats are in here, I'm sorry. But this dude, when he writes, it's like he was sitting there trying to write something really literary, almost bordering on purple prose, which I'm like, did people just write like that back then? Like, sometimes I swear people wrote better back in the day, but that's just probably how language has changed. I don't know. Sorry, I just had to bop one of my cats. Next up, we got English Renaissance Poetry, a collection of shorter poems selected by John Williams. And that's not the composer. That's the dude who wrote Stoner, the really popular book talk book. I don't know if a lot of people know that he did this. I've never seen a YouTube video on it. It's pretty thick. It's about, well, not really. It's like 300 pages. But you got you got Ben Jonson, you got William Shakespeare, you got Sir Walter Raleigh. Sorry, my cats are going crazy. They don't like each other. John Skelton. You got a whole bunch. Poetry is something I didn't really understand years ago, but I've slowly figured it out. Over the years. Poetry is weird because there's a lot of people I know, and I definitely understand where they read poetry and they're just like, what is this? Like, why would I read this? It's so short. I could just read a short story or read a novel, and you do you. But I have found that ever since I got into college several years ago, something about poetry really struck me because it's like language at its most stripped back, and that's a really cliche thing to say, but it's language and English and whatever language. It's language at its most stripped back form. And I think that there's something really powerful about that there are poems out there that are 8 lines long, 12 lines long, and every single word like has a double meaning, has a triple meaning. And like, there are people that write like that. And there's poems I've read personally that I feel like I actually take more from than reading like a 300-page book. And to me, that's just insane. It's kind of drawn me to poetry a lot more over the last couple of years. I used to just read like like just fiction, basically strictly. That's about it. Are y'all gonna go crazy again? Hey. Stop that. Stop that. Y'all hate each other. All right. The next book I got, it's not even really a book. It's a short story. I actually subscribe. I have a one story subscription. It's $10 for 6 months. Literally, they come out in these little, I forget the actual names for these, but they come out in these little like pamphlets. I don't know anything about this author. She has a book of poetry out. Lauren K. Waddle, Trampoline is what it's called. But it's like this little tiny booklet. This story is no joke 15 pages. So if you want to check out something kind of weird and kind of unique, go to onestory.com. If it's not .com, try .other things. Has the One Story supporters in the back. If you can read that, shout out to you. It's really cool, and every one of these is a different color. They have this is 321. I don't know when they come out. I think they publish every 2 or 3 months. I'm excited to check this out. A book I'm reading for class, my Arab American literature class, is The Arsonist City by Hala Alyan. I probably butchered that. This is a pretty good book. I don't really know what to expect going into these because these are just strictly for class. I'm about to read another book for class, the same one, and it's called The Skin and Its Girl. I have no clue. I forgot to bring that up here, actually. That was supposed to be in the video. But yeah, this is pretty good. It's like a double narrative. So there's like a family, and their family kind of spiderwebs out, and then you get one long chapter from like the daughter of the mother, and then the chapter switches to the mother's perspective and tells the mother's story. The mother was really big in theater. And then I think the daughter, I can't remember, the daughter is like this really big, like bisexual icon and has her own band and everything. And her brother, the daughter's brother, that's confusing. He has his own band, but his is a failure, so he has to kind of live with that. He tries to sleep with his own bandmate. It goes south. Yeah, I don't have a band, but been there. Yeah, it's a really cool cover. Speaking of cool covers, I don't have any books that are ugly, but something about, like, I'll get to this in a second. Something about book covers. This is like a whole different video I thought about making. I don't know if maybe I'm just like hating on my generation, but I swear book covers, like, they used to be almost minimalistic and like dark looking on a lot of books I have. And then now they're always like, this is actually good, but there's a lot of like books, this came out like a few years ago, and there's books that come out within the last couple of years that, like, it's just like fluffy stuff, probably made with AI. And I've seen books where the content of the book is like terrible, but then the cover is like pink and some weird shit. So I don't know what's happening. Next book is a collection of poetry, Geography 3 by Elizabeth Bishop. She's really cool. We went over Elizabeth Bishop in one of my poetry classes a long time ago, or not a long time ago. I'm taking the class right now. I meant like last week. She's really cool. I don't know much about her. My professor in my poetry class, he's really cool. And I don't mean to like kiss ass, but almost every time I've gotten out of one of his lectures, I go straight to the used bookstore that's like 5 minutes away from my class, and I'll find whoever his lecture was about. We did Elizabeth Bishop, we did Gwendolyn Brooks, Emily Dickinson, and I've literally, I think almost every lecture will go out and like, oh, let me find a little collection. And you can't really get away with this anymore, but almost all of Elizabeth Bishop's books have like 10 poems in them. So they're literally like 40 pages. And like, you can't really get away with that anymore. Now poetry books end up being like little slim volumes, just for money purposes. You know how it is. But Elizabeth Bishop, I'm trying to remember the lecture. but she suffered a lot of loss, like absentee. One of her parents was very absent, if maybe both. And so she never had a stable life. I don't think she lived anywhere for more than a few years until she was much older. She moved to Brazil, I believe, and like really settled down there, and then came back later to teach at at an Ivy League school. This was years and years ago. She ended up dying pretty suddenly, and I actually don't remember what happened. I think it was a heart attack, because they said, I remember in the lecture there was a part about how they found her at her desk, like just head down. I don't know, but her poem called Sestina is really good. I believe there's one called The Fish. That's really good. Sestina is really dope. Sestina is like a really complicated form of poem, or form of poetry, and just look it up. Like if you're a poetry guy, like that shit's hard. I've had to write poetry before. That shit's hard. The next book that I'm about to talk about, this is the one where I think that kind of prompted the cover discussion. This book right here. Look at that. Old Jules by Mary Sandoz. I don't know much about this book. I actually tried to just Wikipedia before this. There's not a Wikipedia page for this book. There's one for Mary Sandoz, but when you go to like the bibliography thing, the link for Old Jules is red, which means it's not there. But like, yeah, the cover, like, I swear I see a lot of old books and the cover is like, it's just like a picture and that's it. Like there's no like fluffy fairies and fluffy butterflies, you know. And I'm kind of picking out like the bad apples, but no, but this is so this was published in 1935. It's Mary Sandoz's account. It's like it's a biography of her frontiersman father. Yeah, I'm going to read it back. It says, Old Jules is unquestionably Marie Sandoz's masterpiece. The portrait of her pioneer father grew out of the silent hours of listening behind the stove or the wood box, when it was assumed, of course, that I was asleep in bed. So it was that I heard the accounts of hunts, of the fights with the cattlemen and the sheepmen, of the tragic scarcity of women, when a man had to marry anything that got off the train, of the droughts, the storms, the wind, and isolation, but the most impressive stories were those told by old Jules himself. It's a pretty thick chunker, 430 pages. It's one of those books where I just saw it. It has like pictures of the people in there. Let me see. Yeah, you get like, it's like a pioneer biography. I'm kind of into that stuff, like Old West, Manifest Destiny shit. A lot of it's kind of tragic because we killed a lot of things and people, but it's interesting. I feel weird saying that, but yeah. And then last but not least is Graham Greene's The Quiet American. You got like the Penguin Classics. I like I don't know what you call it. I guess it's 20th century classics is the ones that are blue or teal. I don't know. I'm probably blind. This book has a love triangle in it. I know that. It's about, this book is a first person account. It's the main character is a journalist, and he's talking about his thoughts on the USA's growing involvement in Vietnam back in the early 1950s, maybe, just 1950s in general. I don't know much about this book. I bought it like 7, 8, 9 months ago, and just never picked it up. I'm kind of bad about that. I don't buy a lot of books at a time. I usually do like 2 or 3 at a time. And this is one that I bought and just never really touched it. It's short. I bought it for $5.50. It's 187 pages. I have kind of had a hankering recently for anything Vietnam, anything World War II, World War One. World War One, I feel like doesn't get talked about a lot. That might be weird to say. It might be wrong. Maybe in your circles it does. My cat just meowed. But no, I'm gonna check it out. But yeah, those are my plans for the next few months. I thought about doing a book tag video, like the newbie book tag, but I have a lot of mixed feelings on book tags. But I guess if you're like the 2 people that watch this and you think I should do it, like thumbs up or comment. And I might just do it for funsies. It's just the newbie one, the one that's like, why did you start this channel? That kind of shit. I don't like book tags can be fun, but I feel like they're kind of, But yeah, thank you for watching.